Hey, this is Tavis from Zero Data Stress again. Today what we're going to discuss is installing Hyper-V role on our new Windows Server 2012 R2 server. So the first thing you want to do is get your host set up, of course. You need to have valid IP address configuration, and we've already got that set up, so I assume that you know how to do that. This is what we've got set up. You want to do a static IP address. You don't have to, but I would strongly suggest do that. Okay, so you need to open up Server Manager, and we need to add roles and features. Click Next. Click Next again. Next. And here's where you select Hyper-V. When you click it, this little window will pop up asking if you want to add these features since they're required. So yes, you're going to do that. And just click Next. You shouldn't have to install anything else for Hyper-V other than what it mentions, so just click Next on this one. And you can read this if you want, but basically just click Next. Here on this screen is where you want to select which adapters you want to use for your Hyper-V server to communicate with the other networks, other external networks. Basically, all you need to do is select the team, the Intel team that we have set up, which is this third one right here. And then just click Next. We shouldn't need to do live migrations. That's a more advanced setup that you can research on your own. But basically just leave that unchecked for now and just click Next. And the default location, we're not going to use that, but I'm going to leave it as default just for simplicity's sake. So just click Next. And then it's gonna, this lays out everything that's going to happen with your server with the install. You can check this box to restart the server if it's necessary, but I don't ever do that either. Just click Install. This process will take probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. Okay, well it actually took a lot less time. Alright, so now it's telling us that we have to restart the server, so I'm going to close this and right click start button and restart. Now that our server is rebooted, what we need to do is open up Server Manager, go to Tools, Hyper-V Manager, and click on New at the right under Actions, Virtual Machine. Click Next. Give it a name such as DC1. Alright, so now what we need to do to get our OS installed on the Hyper-V is to choose the option that says install an operating system from a bootable CD DVD-ROM. So the options with this to install your operating system are to either be on site and put in your physical OS install CD or DVD, or use an ISO, an image file. Since we're doing this remotely, what we're going to do is use an ISO, which I've already got copied to the desktop. It's Windows Server 2012 R2 standard. So we're going to choose image file ISO, click browse, going to go to the desktop and click on our image, click open, go next, and this is giving you the rundown of everything. And what this is going to do is finish up the VM, and now what we have to do is actually start it, or turn it on, in other words, to actually boot it up and start the install process. Alright, so now that we've entered our key, this next screen pops up. Typically you want to do server with a GUI, so that way you have all the GUI utilities to edit things and make changes like that. Unless you're an advanced sysadmin and want to use the server core installation, then you would choose that one. But for this instance, we're going to do server with a GUI. So you can read through the license if you want. Let's click next. Alright, so we're going to do a custom install. And we're going to obviously use this whole space, so just click next on that. Now what it's doing is copying the files for Windows that it needs to set up everything. And of course this is going to take a little while. So I'm just going to give it maybe a minute so you show you basically what this is going to do, and then I'm going to pause the video while it does its thing, and I will pick back up once the setup is near completion. And just click finish. And that's all there is to it. So now at this point we have a Hyper-V image set up in Hyper-V Manager, and the actual image is Windows Server 2012 R2. Keep in mind it could be any OS. It can be Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 10, Vista, whatever. It can even be Linux for all that matters. That's the great thing about Hyper-V, is it allows you to run basically any OS in a virtualized environment. And the other really nice thing about Hyper-V is that it allows you to reduce your infrastructure, which would reduce your power costs, your cooling costs, all that, by hosting multiple servers on one large physical box. That obviously, as I mentioned, saves power and heat and everything. So that's why virtualization is so popular these days, because of those facts. Alright, so I also wanted to run through a couple of settings on the Hyper-V image. You can get to this screen by right-clicking the image and going to Settings. And here you see various options. You can change your BIOS options. You can change the size of memory, and keep in mind that there's a lot of this you can't change while the actual host OS is running, or the actual machine is running, I should say. So basically what you got to do to change it is shut it down and then go back into these settings to change it. And I will actually show you that in just a minute, because I do want to add, I want to change virtual processors to at least 2 cores for this particular server. And then there's things that you can change, such as adding hard drives. Like under add hardware, you can add any of these options here. You can add another hard drive image, or additional space to show up as like a D drive or an E drive or whatever. You can add another DVD controller, DVD drive, that is. You can add lots of different things, such as network adapters. You can add network adapters, change settings for that, COM ports, disk drives, all kinds of things under here. And then another important thing is the automatic start action. This option, when you actually shut down the physical host, the Hyper-V image will go into a save state, as seen here. It won't actually shut down the virtual machine, but you can change that. And again, you have to shut down the virtual image to actually change this. But typically what I like to do is tell it to turn off the virtual machine, because it kind of, saving the virtual machine state is kind of like putting it into a sleep mode, or hibernation mode, I should say. I don't really like doing that, especially on servers, so I prefer to actually turn the machine off. And then when the actual physical host comes back up, I'm kind of mixed on this one. If you don't have any issues with automatically starting the virtual machine when the physical host comes back up, then leave it as a default to automatically start. Otherwise, change it to do nothing, which will leave the machine off until you actually go back into Hyper-V Manager and turn it on. You just have to remember to go back into the manager to turn it on, or else it will stay off until you actually do that. So that's all that I want to show you for that. Let me go ahead and shut down this server. And I will go in and change the settings. So again, right click it, go to settings, processor, and see, notice that these options are now changeable. So I'm going to set this up to 2. And you can also notice too here where it is blue, it changes to blue, noting that you have actually changed something, and it highlights what you've changed. So when you click apply, that goes back to the regular text. So you click OK, right click it again, hit connect. You don't have to right click and hit connect. You can also right click and just hit start, and it'll automatically start it. And then I'm going to go back to connect to make sure it boots up properly. And as you can see, it's still trying to boot from the DVD, so I need to eject that ISO image from the settings, so it won't try to do that anymore. But that should be it, and hopefully you found this informative. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment or email me with any questions. Thanks, guys.